So it's a quick video of how I make these incense sticks. You know, there are many types of incense on the market from various traditions and cultures around the world. Sort of the masala incense sticks of India, very sweet but very nice smelling. The more kind of herbally incenses from the Himalaya region, like Tibet and Nepal and Bhutan. And then the more sort of subtle fragrances of Japan. So yeah, I've never really found anything that's made in England that actually smells nice. It's usually pretty cheap, kind of perfume dipped incense sticks. So when I discovered I could make my own a few years ago, kind of set me off on a bit of a mission to make something that's good. So yeah, these work very well now. So what you'll need, if you want to have a go, is some ingredients that smell nice when they're burnt, something that binds the ingredients together, and if possible, if that thing can also function to help it burn, then all the better. When I first started off making these, when I was experimenting, I was just mixing these resins together and charcoal, because obviously charcoal burns and the resins themselves stick together. But yeah, it just didn't seem very nice really, burning charcoal in incense. So I looked around and discovered you can get this stuff called Tabu-no-ki, or mako powder, which is what they use in Japanese incense. So it comes from the bark of a tree in Southeast Asia. It doesn't really smell of anything when it burns, but it functions to bind the ingredients together and burn very smoothly. And so it comes in a very fine powder. It's quite expensive, it's about 20 quid for 500 grams, but that'll last you a long time. And as far as ingredients goes, anything that you like that smells nice. So often ingredients that smell nice don't actually smell very nice when they're burnt, they just smell like burning. For instance, lavender, there's a quite nice smell, but when you burn it, it doesn't really smell anything like lavender. So I like the sort of traditional things like frankincense, is always good. Copal resin, that's nice. Myrrh, benzoin, eucalyptus leaves. This stuff is called tolu balsam, comes from South America, and then related to that, Peru balsam. So that's juniper berries that I've ground up. I've got lots more ingredients, but for now that's just an idea of the sorts of things you can use. So a few other things that are helpful to have: a bowl for mixing in, obviously a pestle and mortar for grinding ingredients and also mixing. I've got a coffee grinder here that I use for grinding some of the, pretty much all the ingredients together. For instance, frankincense comes in quite big chunks of resin which needs to be ground down into a fine powder. Also some of the woods and things that you can use, like sandalwood or palo santo, you need to grind that down to a fine powder, so a coffee grinder is really helpful. I think this was about £15. I've got it online, it's a whale one. Yeah, and also this thing. This is great. This is an extruder, so use it for extruding. I think it's designed for clay and model making. So it's just a cylinder with like a piston inside, which compresses the ingredients, whatever's in there, down, and it squeezes it through this hole, so you can get different discs that go in here with different size holes and different shapes and so forth. But this is the one that I found to be the best. It's probably about a 3mm diameter hole. It's quite fine incense, but if you're using that with a fine hole, then you need to make sure that you've ground the ingredients very fine, or else, for instance, if you're squeezing it through and there's a big chunk of wood in the middle, it'll kind of tend to snap off as it comes through. So yeah, I can't remember how much that was. That was an eBay buy, probably about £5. But if you don't use one of these, then as I used to do, you can just roll the sticks out by hand, which is quite a kind of nice thing to do, just rolling it out on a flat surface. But this tends to give you more consistency with the size and shape of the sticks. So in the particular blend I'm going to make today, which I made the other week, is just going to have Palo Santo. So this is Palo Santo, precious wood from South America. It's got a really interesting smell when you burn it. It's not like anything else really. It's got a bit of a minty sort of tinge to it, slightly citrusy, fairly intoxicating when the smoke. It's, yeah, pretty special. So some Palo Santo, some frankincense. So this is stuff that I've already powdered up. It comes in, you get different types of frankincense from various places, usually from, you know, kind of East Africa and Arabia. So this is some that my friend gave me. This is very soft. I don't know where this is from. It's used as chewing gum in some places. But for now I'm going to use some stuff that I've already powdered up. And then tolu balsam, which is very thick sort of resin, so you need to heat this up to be able to pour it, which otherwise it just stays in the bottle. But this has got a kind of vanilla-y, cinnamon kind of smell to it. It's pretty lush. So these are the three main scented ingredients, and then some mako powder. So for the Palo Santo to work, I'm going to have to grind it up into a powder. So to begin with, I'll just shave it off into small pieces that I can put in my grinder. So that should be about enough. I only really want about a teaspoon of powder. So I've shaved that off into small pieces, I'll put it in my grinder. Grind it up. I'm afraid this will be out of shot. Probably not out of earshot though. So, can't really see that, but that's, yeah, still got a long way to go. It takes quite a while to grind this stuff down. So now I've ground that to a pretty fine powder, although due to the fact that there's quite a few oils in this wood, it kind of clumps together a bit. You need to make sure you do get it pretty fine, or else it doesn't mix very well with the rest. Yeah, that's nice. What I tend to do next is do a bit of preliminary mixing in the pestle and mortar, just so that I can help kind of grind the flavoured substances with the mako powder. So 1 teaspoon mako powder. One loaded teaspoon of Palo Santo. One loaded teaspoon of frankincense. Just give it a good grind, get rid of all the lumps, especially in the frankincense, it does tend to clump together a bit. So mixing it this way with a bit of mako powder, I think helps to kind of dry out the more moist components, grind it into a finer paste. Lush. The next thing is to mix the tolu balsam. So as I said, this is pretty sticky stuff. I've heated it up, once it cools down it gets really sticky and difficult to work with. So I found the best way of mixing that into a powder is, again, start off with some mako powder. 1 teaspoon, so always keeping track of how much you've actually put in. So this is 1/4 teaspoon. I'm going to kind of overfill it a bit. Is it going to come? Just about. Yeah, I didn't heat it up enough, did I? Yeah, as I said, it's very difficult to work with, so make sure you heat it up enough so that it's very runny, otherwise it just gets stuck to everything. So mash that into the mako powder. Once it's kind of fully integrated with the powder, it's much easier to mix in with the rest of the mixture. I'm just using a nice sturdy stainless steel spoon. So this is all mixed now. I actually added another teaspoon of mako powder into the tolu balsam mix. So there's about 2 teaspoons of mako powder and about 1/4 teaspoon of tolu balsam. That's made that much easier to work with. So we've got a teaspoon of mako powder, a teaspoon of frankincense and 2 teaspoons of palo santo in there. So I'm going to mix all these together now in my mixer, in my grinder, just so we get a nice mix. So far what have we got? We've got 3 teaspoons of mako powder. So for a mix like this I probably want about 10 teaspoons of mako powder just to help it burn. I have quite a few times made mixes, made quite a lot, rolled it all out or extruded it, left it overnight. It's dried out nicely but it just doesn't burn because the ratio is not right. So I'm going to go for 6, 7, 8. Little grinder. So now I've blended all that together. Lush. Look at that. Nice fine powder. Now we need to turn it into a dough. So add water. Probably nicer to add some nice mineral water, spring water. For the sake of this incense I'm just happy with tap water. So when you're adding the water, just do it very gradually. You don't want to end up with a big slimy mess. You just want to add just enough water that it's all consistently stuck together and sort of malleable. quite often I've put too much water in, it just becomes a big slurry, it's not very nice. And also due to the amount of water in it, when it dries out it tends to shrink quite a lot, which can cause it to break apart. Yeah, once it's all stuck together, you can get your hands involved, sort of knead it. It's quite enjoyable. Your hands smell nice. What I've done in the past, which might be helpful, is to maybe keep a little bit of the mixture back dry, just in case you do over add the water. You can always add a bit more dry mix in just to balance it out. That seems nice. Yeah. So just keep doing it. You know, you can't mix it enough, really. I'll do. Perfect. So the next job is to form your incense into whatever shape you like. You know, you could roll it into cones or you could roll it out into sticks. As I mentioned earlier, my preferred method is to extrude it into a thin stick using my extruding device. So I usually just do this on the worktop in the kitchen, but Becky is making some cakes in there at the moment, so I don't have that space. So for now I'm just going to do it on a piece of wood. So when you use one of these things, it's a pretty tricky kind of technique. You've got to twist and, oops, sorry, bang the radiator. You've got to twist and move at the same time once it starts coming out. Get a nice consistent stick. See, it's snapped here. When that happens, I tend to just go back to the beginning, put that one out next to it. So it probably snapped. I don't know why, but maybe because there was a piece of, for instance, Palo Santo that hadn't been ground properly, that was just sitting there. So that's it, just keep going like that until you've used it all up. So that's them all extruded out into a line. What I tend to do is try and get them as straight as possible to start with, and then sort of check them. I usually do this in the evening, so I check them throughout the evening, keep straightening them out if necessary, and then leave them overnight, and then usually by the morning they're ready to burn. But obviously it does depend upon atmospheric conditions. Also that can play a part in how quickly they dry. If they dry very quickly, then sometimes I've left them at night and they all look nice, and they come down in the morning they're all bent all over the place because they've kind of dried out unevenly. So the slower the drying, the better, really. And then once they're dry, what I normally do is line them all up. Just get a business card, one of my business cards, and then just cut them. That's how I measure their length. Into sticks. Gather them together and then package them however you like. I thought it might be helpful if you haven't got an extruder, just to show you how you could roll them. So I tend to just take a piece, roll it into a ball, using the palm of your hand. Just roll it out into a stick. So I often do this with the pieces that I cut off the ends, the kind of straggly bits where you start and when you finish on a run. I like to, I'm a little bit impatient with finding out what it smells like, so sometimes I'll take a really small piece and just roll it into a really thin stick, so it dries a lot quicker than the rest, and then I get a bit of a preview as to what it's going to smell like. Are you laughing at me, Becky? So that's it, really. Just so here's one I made earlier. Yeah, they burn very evenly, very nice, quite subtle. Well, thank you for watching.